You are listening to Unsolicited Genius.
All right. Well, transitioning, fellas, we are well into the holiday season. Christmas, as of this recording, Christmas is less than a week away. So under Are You Entertained and What Have You Watched? I was curious, what is your favorite Christmas and or holiday movie?
Go ahead, Mo.
Y'all might think I'm crazy, man, but I always have a soft spot in my heart for Home Alone. Like whenever Home Alone comes on, I have to watch
Judgment-free zone.
Yeah, that
Totally.
just even now, man, when I watch it, I still love it. It just, even though it's a ridiculous premise, like to leave your kid and he those robbers, it's just entertaining to me, and I watch it, I enjoy it. I like to laugh, so Home Alone to me is always entertaining. Yeah, I would say Home Alone, man, for sure. My wife and her parents have a tradition that I've joined in on. This is not a Christmas movie. I guess you could say it's a Christmas movie, but we watch this movie every year. And if you haven't seen this movie to the younger generation, I definitely recommend it. Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd. Not only is it a hilarious movie, it is an excellent play on society. It is an excellent play on society and opportunities. You know, when they flip positions in the movie and the black man is giving the opportunity to succeed, he runs with that opportunity and becomes very successful in their world. When the white man is forced to come from an impoverished environment and he doesn't have the privilege that allowed him to get to where he gets in life, he basically becomes homeless and he's robbing people with a gun and he's stealing fish from the Christmas cookout. It just shows you, like, you know, where you start in life, that head start that you get in life does make a big difference. It truly does. So if you have a mile advantage in the race, you're more likely going to be more successful than me if I'm a mile behind you and my ankles are weighted down with rocks. Like, I love the movie. I love all parts of that movie. Those would be my two, Carlton. Trading Places, Home Alone.
All right. How about you?
Love it.
G?
Love it. Kevin.
I love that commercial. Have you seen the Kevin Hart commercial?
Yes, with Kevin Hart.
I thought that was so creative. And I you know, Kevin Hart, I'm getting to the point where I really am admiring the things that he does, the freedom that he has with himself, and his I won't even call it self-deprecation, but allowing himself to get picked on. You know, he just rolls with it. But yeah, I thought that commercial was very well done. So what are your favorite holiday movies, Gyasi?
You know, so I'm gonna take it here, and I'm gonna just say I've had so many arguments over the last, call it, I don't know, 3 or 4 years on what constitutes a Christmas movie.
Okay.
So I've had arguments with friends and family about you know, just because it has Christmas music in it, is it a Christmas music? Is it a Christmas movie? Just because it has, you know, snow in it, is it a Christmas? Or just because Christmas is mentioned, is it a Christmas movie? So I've debated with the likes of many very intellectual people that Die Hard is a Christmas movie. I would say that it's not.
Okay.
Hell no.
Okay.
What is Christmas about Die Hard?
Exactly. Reindeer games. We got a whole bunch of other things in the mix and in the works. To me, if it's a Christmas movie, it has to be centered on some sort of concept of Christ-like, you know, of why we celebrate Christmas in the first place. And as everybody knows on this call, Jesus was the first Black revolutionary, blah, 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 blah. So there has to be some sort of revolutionary spirit. I didn't even think of Trading Places. That is, to me,
that's a good one.
Definitely, that is definitely a Christmas movie, and I'm actually gonna go watch that. Right, like
yeah, I'm gonna put that on the list for sure.
Yeah,
it is. It's a great movie.
It
one,
is.
It's a Christmas movie.
you got Dan Aykroyd dressing up as Santa Claus. You got a bunch of other stuff going on, and then yes, it is a Christmas movie because it does flip, and then obviously the social norms. But I'm old school. Like I watch a lot of It's a Wonderful Life and all those kinds of things, black and white.
Okay.
There's another movie, Four Christmases, that I enjoy. That's just funny to me that I put on whenever I, get a chance. With your boy Vince Vaughn and Reese Witherspoon. So
yeah, that's a cute one.
I'll do that. I do that. But mainly for me, this is a time of immense and intense reflection. This is normally the time I get at least 3 or 4 or 5 days to just turn off everything, actually listen to some music, which I hopefully we'll get into in here in a second, and really just sort of dissect the year and make sure that I inspect the upcoming year. So that's what I'm looking most forward to during the holidays.
All right, I respect it. So my movie, I got a few, and there's a method to my madness, but the one movie that tradition wraps around is they got 2 fraternity brothers. Mo knows them, but we have been watching. We coordinate watching Friday After Next. We've been doing that maybe 15 years now, give or take. However long the movie's been out, subtract a couple years. That's how long we've been doing this.
Rancha Cucamonga. Whatever that is, yeah.
and so Friday After Next with Peaky hopping in, Merry Christmas with the Jerry Curl juice, the ghetto Santa, Ice Cube getting in the fights, and his daddy with all the girlfriends. It's so many aspects of it, and what's crazy is like every time we watch it, we pick up something new, something else funny. The first time we saw Terry Crews really kind of showcase his comedic skill set. Mike Epps, this wasn't the first time that we saw him, but the pairing with him and Ice Cube in terms of comedy for me is flawless. John Witherspoon, may he rest in peace, but it's all of it. Is it better than the first Friday? No. Is it a Christmas Carol, any version of them? No. But in terms of Christmas, it achieves that. I don't know how many times Jesus gets referenced, but it got Santa, it got gifts, it got food, drink, and a whole bunch of comedy. So watch that every year. I think my favorite is A Christmas Story, but because that comes on Christmas over, I just wait. I don't try to watch that in advance because I like to watch things that get me into my Christmas feels. But what I do is I'll watch the different versions of A Christmas Carol. So I watch the Muppets version. Jim Carrey did an animated version. I'll watch that. And then I'll just pick a third one, just whatever comes on. I think Bill Murray, I remember he did Scrooge. So sometimes I watch to see how they retell the same story with a different twist. But the Muppets I love. I'm a Muppet at heart. Kermit was my first hero. And then I think with the animated version, I just thought Jim Carrey did an excellent job at playing Ebenezer Scrooge. So I always make sure to get
Kermit the Frog.
Man, it's a judgment-free zone. I just let you talk about you and Home Alone, and it felt judgy.
I'm asking a question.
Yeah, I was a kid. It was my first. So I mean, since you asked,
Miss Piggy was thick.
I had a surgery. When I was a kid, and before they did anesthesia, they let me choose a puppet that was gonna make me feel better. I didn't know what the hell was going on. So when I woke up, I had Kermit on my hand. So he stayed with me through my healing. So that's why Kermit was my first hero. There it is. All right, so that's what we watch. So we got Christmas movies to watch, at least me and Mo. G, you got your window of dedicated time, which I respect. I probably need to hop on that train myself, but we'll talk about that later. So then next area is what you listen to. And I feel like I got a Christmas gift a little early with Rick Ross' album, Richer Than I Ever Been. I know they had some initial, like the singles, the album cover was a little questionable in terms of fashion design. So he reconciled that, he fixed that. But the album is fire one. It's not like, you know, Rick Ross hasn't had a bad album. But what really, as I'm still diving into it, but the thing that the next kind of layer that I feel like he's added is he's not changing his style. He is who he is. He raps how he raps, but then he's bringing in and allowing for the newer, younger generation of rappers, mumble, not mumble, feel about it how you do, but he's allowing them to also be heard with him, through him. You know, I thought Kanye attempted to change up to try to be like what's, you know, the newer generation of rappers are doing. And for some people, they loved it. For me, it was a miss. But with Rick Ross, he's not changing him. He still ride the beats in the same way, but he's like, I can do me and let them do them, and we still make a great song. So I hear that throughout the album, and to be someone who's biased in terms of where I go for my hip hop, I like that he did that because it exposed me to some other people, gave me a chance to hear some other people while not taking away from my Rick Ross experience.
I love it. I love it. I mean, that Ross Knox, I think it came out as of this taping about 2 weeks ago. And I heard it, I think, the day after, and was just blown away. I will say a couple of things about Rick Ross. I think number one, I like what he's doing. Again, we again, the theme intentionally around how he's utilizing his wealth and everything else. This brother had almost, I think I read something like 80% of the movie Coming to America was taped on his estate. We ain't talking mansion. We're not talking farm. His estate, which is like 235 acres or something like that, ridiculous amount of land in Georgia. So that being said, and everybody knows he was actually in that movie as well, small cameos. So I love that aspect. And then to couple that with, culminate that with what he just produced, I think is really special. And I agree with you too, CI, that he hasn't changed his style. I think, you know, there's two forms or evaluation in my mind of greatness. One is when you can tell a competitor what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and they can't stop it. That means you're great. Two is you actually make something that's really, really difficult look easy. And I think Rick Ross is the latter. I think he is making something, because I've even tried to rap, and I think he's making production look easy. He's making rapping look easy. He's making all this other stuff look easy. And I think he's coming into his own, where he just is like, I'm gonna bring these young cats up, and I'm gonna rap over this beat. And oh, by the way, you're gonna love it. And I think it's been slept on because it was not, as you guys probably know. Hopefully we get into this. I'll shut up here in a second, let Mo go. But it was not nominated for a Grammy, and we don't use that as a barometer. But it was not nominated for a Grammy for 2021. The others were. You mentioned Donda, Kanye. You mentioned, you know, there's a bunch of others, Drake and other ones. But I will tell you in a second. After Mo goes, I will tell you what the album of the year is. So
no, this your turn. So
no, go ahead.
You commented on the Rick Ross. No, you commented on my Rick Ross.
Year, man.
Yeah, tell us who you listen to.
I can ad-lib in the back.
So let me. I wrote this up. So Nas, King's Disease 2 was nominated. Tyler, the Creator, Drake, of course, Certified Lover Boy, Kanye, and then J. Cole. So the J. Cole, I'm a big fan of J. Cole. Love J. Cole to death. There's a couple of things that he released on YouTube that if you haven't heard or seen, please check that out. But the album of the year, y'all, hands down, if you haven't heard it, it's Tyler the Creator. It's an amazing album. Yeah, bro, it's an amazing album. I've spent more time this year out in California than I probably have ever, and have a good friend out there. And that to me just captures the vibe of Cali, particularly Southern California.
I got questions.
So yeah, man, go ahead. Yeah, bro. Yeah,
so
I knew this was smart stuff.
So yeah. That surprises me that you choose Tyler, because I haven't listened.
I'm a shy guy, so you
break it down, because here's my why. Because he's won previously, so he won a Grammy in the hip hop category previously. And at that point, I hadn't been a heavy listener, knew who he was, heard some things. So I sat with that album, me and a coworker. She hadn't heard it, I hadn't really heard. So we sat and we came back to work like, what are we missing? I couldn't get there. And I said, if other people hear stuff that they vibe with, that's great. Maybe come up with another category for hip hop. I don't know, but I didn't get it. So my question to you is, in loving this year's album, and I'm gonna listen, I'm gonna go with the openest of ears as I can, but in loving this album, my question is, how does it compare for you to previous albums? And then what is it that you hear when you listen to them?
Yeah, great questions. I'll be brief too. One is, I think this is some of his best work. I think the previous album set this piece of work up. I think this is an album, the old school albums where you could just, press play, you ain't got to skip around. There's not one song that you download or you put prioritize over others. This is one album that you can listen to. I think it's 16 tracks, 1 through 16. And it just knocks. It's just a hardcore album where the production is right. His concepts are pretty clear, and I think that's what's different from the others. Like he was truly trying to find himself in terms of what he wanted to rap about. Again, it's not necessarily the content, but the context. He knew how to contextualize what he was rapping about in this album. I think it dropped in like June or July. That also being said, though, the production from DJ Drama, I think, is just something that is above and beyond anything that I have heard this year. Now, I'm a big fan. Now, we will debate this. I do like Donda. I do like some of Certified Lover Boy. I do like some of the other things. I think actually the committee, the Grammy committee, because again, I told you the albums that got nominated. But to me, hands down, Tyler should win. If he doesn't win, this dude has to be a close second, and people got to give it a listen for sure.
All right. It's unsolicited genius, baby. It's all about listening and learning. All right, Mo. So either what you listening to or you have a retort to any of that?
I said this many times, and Carlton knows this. I don't mess with that new rap, that mumble rap shit. Like, that shit is just not for me. I think Tyler, the Creator, I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you and tell you I've listened to the whole album, but when I see him perform live, I mean, he brings a different energy to that stage than most cats have ever seen perform live. I think he's widely creative, man. He's definitely weird at times, but I think he's being true to himself. So I definitely respect it. Let me just put this out there. Just because I don't listen to this new rap or I don't appreciate it, I guess you could say, nobody cheers for these young men to get their money more than me. I'm glad they're rich. I hope they're taking their money, doing wise things with it. There's no, people always confuse that if you don't like something, that you don't like the person. That's far from the truth here. I guess the only people I'm not cheering for are the Island Boys. Like, I don't even know what that is. I'm not cheering for them. But, a lot of people, a lot of the young kids, I'm around young people, and they're in love with the Tyler, the Creator album. Like, that's their go-to. They relate very much so to that album. So I can understand why he could easily win Album of the Year. Donda, I checked out because, I can't, to put it out there, I can't stand Kanye West as a person, but I used to love Kanye West as a person. Like, the first albums, I was like, this is my guy. This is this is a guy that went to college, even though he dropped out. It was very relatable to me, the first albums. But Donda, to me, you know, I can't even get down on Donda. I thought Donda was a trash album. Certified Lover Boy to me was a trash album too. Did it have some hits? Yes, because they're good at what they do. You know, they're always gonna have some hits. But those are not my favorite. I thought Nas's album, you know, the Veteran, was exceptional. To me, if you asked me what the song of the year was, I would say it's Nas and This Is Lauryn Hill.
Nobody. I agree with that.
Was,
I completely agree with that. Yeah.
I think that song, bringing Lauryn Hill to basically, to me, what you would call her roots, where she's just spitting that fire on that track, I love. But you know, to be honest with you boys, in the holiday season, man, I don't listen to rap music. I kind of, just to bring the noise down in my life, to find a little more peace, I kind of stick to R&B. And the R&B that I've been listening to recently, man, is Boyz II Men. I forgot
which album. Which album though? Which album?
No,
Christmas
just a plethora of songs.
Oh, you just Boyz II Men mash up. Okay.
Yeah, like I'll just say, Siri, play Boyz II Men, and just let it run.
All right.
You know, one of the songs that I forgot how much I loved is I Do. You know, where he talks about the love of his life, and, you know, for people that are married, you know, it can be very relatable. They just have something for everyone, man. Like even if you can't stand the woman that you used to love, you know, you could listen to Doing Just Fine, Waterfalls. Like their singing ability and the way they're almost like they complement each other so perfectly. It's an amazing thing for me to listen to. Your boy Wayne, I mean, you feel the pain. Like, I mean, you feel the pain, like the man, you know, the vein is throbbing out his neck. It's like, oh, he must have loved her so much.
Man, one of my slept-on favorites from them is Girl in the Life magazine. So to talk about the conveying of emotion, man, to be crushing somewhere, man. That Girl in the Life magazine, that's your tune. That's the pouring out of, you don't know her, you don't know if what she like, what she don't like, but it's some imprint that she's impressed upon you that you got to sing your Boyz II Men about it.
I mean, thank you in advance. You know, one song that always almost brings me to tears when I hear it, I almost always skip it because I don't want to cry every time I hear it. It's like so hard to say goodbye to Yesterday, man. Like, you can apply that song.
The remixed version is killer.
But like Carlton, you could apply it to anything in your life, to a love, to your time in college, to your boys, how y'all don't hang out the way you used to your high school days. You could just apply it to so many moments in your life, and it's just done beautifully. So I've been jamming with those boys for like the last week, man. That's all I've been doing.
There it is, Mo. Man, that first album knocks. I agree.
I mean,
I got to see the Trading Places, and I got to listen to some Boyz II Men. So
they were just on, when we recorded the other day, they were on a boy band holiday special or something. So I thought it was cool that they even, you know, embrace that genre, embrace that role. They did it from a senior perspective, like we us and y'all, but we were boys in a band. So it was cool. Even Bobby Brown and Michael Bivins made an appearance. Okay.
And then, I mean, the Rick Ross album, Carlton, I haven't listened to because, like I told you, I don't listen to rap during the holiday season, but that's the first thing I'm going to listen to on January 2nd. I did hear the single with Willie Falcone. Absolutely loved it. Loved it. I mean, he rides on that beat so hard. But like I agree with what Carlton said about Rick Ross. You know, I don't think people give him the credit that he deserves as like one of the top upper echelon rappers of all time. Because even a couple of weeks ago, man, someone asked me, who do I feel is the best rapper to ever come out of Miami? And to me, you know, it's without question Rick Ross. So to me, it was just
everybody
silly
else,
question, in my opinion, because he never has a bad album.
Yeah,
he rarely has a bad track.
Being from there, everybody played their part, right? You don't get Rick Ross without Luke. You don't get Trick Daddy without Uncle Al and his Vicious Funk DJ. Like, there
don't
is
forget
all
JT
connected.
Money.
Oh, please don't let me
Don't
forget JT Money.
JT
Please,
Money.
I have
That
legit people coming
305.
after me if I don't mention JT Money. It's just, you know, I chose one route. JT Money was, so he's not first off the tip of my tongue, but yes, Poison Clan, JT Money, all serve their purpose. But and I'm glad you brought that up about Miami and Rick Ross, because when I listen to him, it's not a matter of whether I love it, because there's plenty of stuff that Trick did that I love that I knew the rest of the country wouldn't feel, but I love it, so I'm cool. I can bump it and play it on repeat all I want. But when I listen to Rick Ross, I'm like, he's letting the world is feeling a Friday night in Miami when they listen to Rick Ross.
Rick Ross gave me my love for lemon pepper wings, man. Like, and those
Friday
are the only ways and I credit him solely for that.
Totally. So I know we short on time, brothers, but just a couple of things that I hope that I live to see.
Okay.
So one is Watch the Throne 2. So Jigga and Kanye, if they get back together, do another album. Maybe.
We'll see.
But there's always been whispers of Drake and Ross doing a whole album together. Now, I think one of the other songs that should be mentioned, honorable mention for the song of the year, is Lemon Pepper Freestyle. One of the best songs I've heard this year with Drake and Rick Ross. And coupled with that, there's just so much entrenched in that, to your point, Carlton, about the lifestyle. Like that I think that's what hip hop is about. It's the Black CNN. You know, that's where you get the information. I love the fact that, you know, my granddaddy used to say, the North is a direction, the South is a lifestyle. So being in the South and understanding how everything sort of operates and the modes and modus operandi and everything else happens in the South. I'm starting to appreciate that, obviously going to school in the South and being in the South more. I'm in your town a lot more as well. There's a lot of things that I think we need to sort of capture and put into that hip hop, man. So it couldn't be a better time for hip hop these days, I think. I mean, there's just a lot of things going on that I'm super encouraged about.
I mean, I'll be in the Nissan Altima listening to Aston Martin music, thinking I'm doing it.
Oh, yeah, and Drake, yeah. So an album, you know, because Drake is talented. So if you think about, even when Ross and 2 Chainz had their verses, both of them were playing a bunch of songs, their hits, with Drake on it. So yeah, I think like we got Watch the Throne 1.
You can't take that from Drake, man. People want to take that from Drake, but he's very talented. Some of the things he says are very like thought-provoking. Like G quoted him earlier, and to me, I love that line. Like I lost friends, but I found peace. Like that. That makes sense. Like as you get older, you definitely understand like where he's coming from when he says that.
Absolutely.
Tell you to tighten that circle.
All right. So before we take a break, let's talk about what we've read. So Gyasi, you're an author, but I also know you're an avid reader. So what have you been reading recently?
Yeah, I am, man. And that's what sort of inspired the book and everything else. And I tend to listen to things as I'm running. So I like to run. As you know, I try to run marathons whenever I can or enter them in. And with COVID, it's just been a struggle. But just listening to books on audio has really helped me, inspire me as well. So I'm listening to right now Will, which is the book by Will Smith.
Okay.
I'm about halfway through, I think. The storytelling, I think he is a masterful storyteller, and it's just very, very compelling to be drawn in to how he's telling the story of pretty much his life. I wouldn't call it necessarily an autobiography, but the fact that he's had a lot of trials and triumphs, I think, in his life, and then the people that he sort of rubs elbows with, the Quincy Joneses of the world and everything else, is super entertaining. So I'm really enjoying that.
Does he have a
hopefully
chapter where
daily
he
runs.
talks about Jada's lovers?
He does not talk about the
Okay.
entanglements per se.
That's
At least I
low.
haven't gotten
My
it. Yeah. At least I haven't gotten to it. But he does reference marriage a lot, and couples and love and his previous wife and everything else. He does reference that. So check it out. I definitely recommend it. But you know what I've gone back to, y'all, is I've gone back to, and this is not on audio, so I actually have the hard copy. I should have had it right in front of me to show everybody. But I've gone back to reading Asada. Asada is an autobiography of Asada Shakur. As you guys know, she was famously and infamously pretty much accused of killing a cop, and she fled to Cuba for political asylum. Hopefully your listeners will appreciate this. She was super, super secretive when I was actually in Cuba, but I actually got to talk to her through vis-a-vis a phone. I did not actually see her, get to shake her hand or give her a hug and just tell her how much I respect her, but I actually got to talk to her vis-a-vis a phone when I was in Cuba. So that's resonating. And I'll tell you why I'm reading these in a second. And I'm also going to read over the holidays, probably Angela Davis's autobiography. The reason I'm reading those is because I am working to raise a 13-year-old daughter who is going on 33. So already thinking she's grown. So I want to make sure that I try to embody the best the way that I know how to be a Black woman in society, and being accused of wrongdoings, having the inner strength to persevere, and then to go on and do big, big things. So I'm reading those things so that hopefully I can inspire her as much as I can.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, Mo, I know we like your articles. Anything you want to add to the reading list? Anything
Man, I've been reading
out?
about the history of lynching in this country. Just, you know, I'm very interested in the mental aspect of it, because I think those mental things are more covert today, but they are definitely still around without the violence that they use. They've just went to more, you know, a greater form of mental warfare. The reason why I got on that, man, is China. I don't know if you boys have been paying attention to this, but China has been loaning money to African nations that they know that these nations can't pay back. So when these nations don't pay them back, essentially when they default on the loan, what China does is claims infrastructure from them. For example, airports, you know, mines with diamonds and all of these things. And China is like, you know, very sneakily colonizing these African nations for their natural resources and their infrastructure. So it just led me down a path to lynching and mind control and doing it in different ways. So I've really been trying to educate myself on what China is doing. Just interesting to me, man. And, you know, of course, I've been reading up on your boy Biden. Biden is such a clown, man. Like, like Carlson, man, I'd give anything to get Biden on this show. Like, you know, I'd give anything to have Biden on this show. Even Vice President Kamala Harris, you know, I was paying attention to some of her interview with Charlemagne the God. And, you know, no matter what you think about him, he's not gonna give you a softball interview if you come onto his show. So I definitely respect that, and he definitely was going after her as well. He should. The thing I've been reading about Biden that I've been more focused on recently has been the student loans. I don't understand how, as the pandemic seems to be taking a turn for the much worse, he can justify asking for these student loan payments back. And where the hell is the 10 grand he promised to take away?
February 1st, and that is huge on that foreclosure clause.
Yeah, you have to start making payments again on February 1st.
Forbearance. Yeah, that is, I mean, I can't see that either, Mo. And that, to me, that is it goes against everything he campaigned for.
I mean, he promised 10 grand off the student loans. We haven't seen the 10 grand. And, you know, and Carlton knows this, as like you said earlier about being 50 years old, being 20 years old. You know, I have a much greater interest in politics as I become an older man. And, you know, just from a logical standpoint, it makes no sense to me. But from a political standpoint, what the hell are you thinking? Inflation is on the rise. The price of goods is on the rise. So you're going to add student loan payments to this. It's like, I feel like Biden's like, how can I give the election to the Republicans the next time it comes around? And the Democrats, seriously, the Democrats is traditionally the party that I vote for because I'm devoid of better options. So, but I couldn't explain to you what the hell they're doing. They need Deion Sanders to help them with marketing and branding because
they do.
The things they say, the things they do it's like they're trying to give the elections away. Like, for example, just real quick, and then I'll give it up to Carlton. Like, defund the police. That's a stupid slogan. Like, that's never going to move people to come seeing your way or to make an actual change with the policing in this country. Like, there's a good majority of Black people that are like, what are you talking about when you say defund the police? What we need to do is tear it down and build it back up in an appropriate way where it is equitable and it provides equality and protection for all American citizens. But to just say defund the police, you've lost 85% of America just with the stupid slogan. So I don't understand what Joseph R. Biden is doing. Carlton, if you can figure out a way to get him on the show, I would love for you to do that, because I just, you know, we had a guest last week that was essentially telling me, why would I expect anything different? It's because I'm a person that expects you to do what you say you're going to do. When you tell me you're going to cancel $10,000 in student debt for the population that sacrifices by going to get educated to make our country a better place, I expect that to happen. And I don't see the logic in you making people make these payments again when people are still hurting, people are still struggling. So from a common sense standpoint, it makes no sense. From a political standpoint, I feel like it's political suicide. It's bad. They're not going to be happy until McConnell and them boys have full control. And like you said earlier, man, voting rights. What the hell is he doing about voting rights other than just sitting back and watching them get repealed in the southern states or the Republican states? And he's doing absolutely nothing about it. So that would be what I encourage people to read. Read up on your current politics, your federal, your local. Educate yourself on what the governments are, what our government is doing, and what you can do to combat this. Like, you know, my people in Georgia, we did outstanding things in the last election, in my opinion. My girl, Stacy Abrams, is running for governor. I'm such a big fan of Stacy Abrams. I believe in her. We need to educate ourselves on these new rules that they've put in place to prevent people of color from voting. And we need to show them that we'll overcome that too. And we'll still be at the voting polls, and we'll make sure our vote is heard, which in turn makes sure our voice is heard. So, you know, please stay educated and current on what's going on in politics. It affects your life.
All right. Thank you for the PSA. And so my book that I would like to offer to our listeners is A Healthy Disruption by Gyasi Chisley. That's what I've read. And so I'd like to share an excerpt from it so that the listener can understand the power in the author. And so he wrote, when examining humanity, Thomas Hobbes, author of Leviathan, wrote, a person's conscience and judgment is the same thing, and as judgment, so also the conscience may be erroneous. Hobbes, a steadfast detractor of morality and an eternal pessimist, got the first part correct. There is a fine line in judgment and conscience. However, I think America and the healthcare industry have uniformly failed at allowing our collective conscience to be our guide. It is not erroneous, but deeply entrenched and consistent with our humanity. Conversely, Winston Churchill stated, the only guide to a people is their conscience. The only shield to their memory is the rectitude and sincerity of their actions. He also wrote, all the great things are simple, and many can be expressed in a single word: freedom, justice, honor, duty, mercy, hope. On some occasions, I have the joy and high honor to pray with my daughter before she goes to sleep. Prior to prayer, I work to discover her thoughts, fears, and philosophies on life within her ever-evolving adolescent brain. This is no small feat, as she is a chip off the old block and does not open up easily, even to me. Regardless of how her day goes, I always wish her a good night and better tomorrows. It is the same thing I wish for America and the American health system: better tomorrows. And on that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Unsolicited Genius.
Before we head out and call it a show, housekeeping. So from our end, we want to remind everybody, we are on YouTube. We video podcasting now. So all the previous episodes on YouTube, the videos on YouTube. So please like, subscribe, and share. Hit us up on social media. We are interactive, so to speak. So if you're interested in a topic you want us to talk about, you see we have guests. If there's interest if you have something you want to share with the earth and you feel like we're a good platform for you, hit us on Instagram, Facebook. You can use Twitter. Twitter's a cesspool, but we're on Twitter. So if Twitter's your way to go, that's your jam, we're on Twitter as well. All Unsolicited Genius Podcast. So like, follow, subscribe. Before we get out, G, you got anything for our listeners you want to share?
Just so happy to be with you, brothers. Unsolicited Genius. Been following you since the inception. It's just been a pleasure to be with you. Please go ahead and cop the book. It's on Amazon or wherever you buy books. GyasiChisley.com as well. So please support it. And again, it's just my 2 cents. Feel free to make change. What do I know? I'm just a Chi-Town guy with a Nas flow. So I'm just trying to make sure that we try to create a platform for change. And I'm willing to work with anybody and everybody that has that same sentiment and spirit. And again, we're not necessarily focused on equality. We're focused on equity. So how do we build equity so that we can get to equality? I'm not sure that I'm going to see equality in my lifetime, but I'm hopeful that we'll get to the equity piece. I can't wait to come back. CI, Mo, Joe, we got to do it. So anything that you need from me, I'm here. I'm here to support y'all. So thank you.
Oh, man. Glad to have had you, my brother, for sure, for sure. The honor is ours, indeed. Go ahead.
Shout out, as always, to my producer, Joe Nitty. You know, I love you. Happy holidays to our listeners, man. I hope you have a wonderful holiday and you have love with your families, make incredible moments and memories with them. Thank you to our guest, G. Whenever you're in Atlanta, brother, please let me know.
So real quick, because Mo, you spot on, man. I know, and let's just acknowledge, because we're talking about healthcare, mental stability, wealth in this country, and I'm a big believer. So goes your health, so goes your wealth. We have been focused far too long on what doesn't matter in this country versus what does. And what I mean by that is you know, particularly for, and let's just call it, you know, a spade, particularly for Black men. I know that I'm seen as a statistic in the eyes of white people, but in the eyes of many of my family members, because I've quote unquote gotten out of certain things, I'm viewed as a statue. So don't be either. Don't be a statistic. Don't be a statue. Be who you are. Be authentic, so that you can protect your own mental health, particularly during the holidays, man. Because it's hard. It's hard. I mean, particularly as you're going and trying to navigate and be who you are and everything else. So take time to do whatever you need to do, whether that's trading places, whether that's listening to some Boys to Men, whether that's listening to, you know, doing whatever we've been talking about throughout the whole podcast. Do whatever you need to do to protect your own mental health and stability, because it's going to be important. We're going to need everybody's influence going into 2022.
Find someone to talk to. You're not alone. My boy Carlton's
Absolutely.
always available.
Always
available. Coach
right. CarltonEnnis.com, always available. And I guess I take that to lead into our thoughts of genius, because Gyasi captured it brilliantly. That do you be the best version of who you are as best you know how, when you can. And the piece that I would add to that is, as we're in the holiday season, we're inundated with stuff. We got tasks, we got places to be, menus to plan out, gifts to purchase. Do we have the money to purchase these gifts? What about, am I getting something in return? What they did last time, what they didn't do. I hope such and such don't come with this, that, or the other. Holiday season is predicated on the birth, at least Christmas predicated on celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ. New Year is a new start, it's a new beginning, it's going to the past and embracing the future. Even Thanksgiving, regardless of how we got it as a holiday, which was an early US crime, but it's about thankfulness and it's about love and togetherness. But often with the burdens, with these other things, we take away from these experiences. We remove the love that should be in all of these moments during this season. So what I offer our listeners, what I offer for perspective is add love in order to lighten your burden. You're already carrying stuff. You're already stressed and overwhelmed by some things. Find love, whether it's love for yourself, love of this other person, love of the fact that you got holiday movies on at a time of the year that you wouldn't, love of the fact that there's Christmas music that's uplifting, love your TV show, love the books that you cherish, love what you value, but find the love, connect to the love, and embrace that love, and you will find that a lot of these burdens that you carry, a lot of the burdens that we constantly bear, get measurably lighter. They don't mean the same, because you replace all that hate, all that negative energy, replace it with love, and you elevate naturally. So on that, we say good morning, good afternoon, good night. Thank you for joining us. Unsolicited Genius. We'll catch you next time.
You are listening to Unsolicited Genius.